We didn't come this far to only come this far. We came this far to demand change. We came this far because we are strong, powerful, fearless. And we came this far to ensure that you can see we're not afraid to go further.
Student activists mark 1 month today since 17 people were killed at the school shooting in Parkland, Florida.
So we were told to kill every person, burn down every house, kill every animal, chop down every fruit tree, and put blocks of poison down the wells.
A look back at the My Lai Massacre 50 years later and the true cost of the Vietnam War. And the evolution of North Park, one brewery at a time. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. Thousands of San Diego students walked out of their classrooms today to honor the 17 people killed 1 month ago at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. They walked out was part of a national call to action honoring the victims and demanding movement from elected leaders to help prevent gun violence in schools.
No more silence and gun violence!
The Associated Press estimates that tens of thousands of young people from Maine to Alaska joined the protest. Some historians say they are the largest student-led protests since the Vietnam War era. In Washington, D.C., about 2,000 students marched on the Capitol and observed 17 minutes of silence with their backs turned to the White House. Here in San Diego, more than 30 schools took part in the walkout, including Patrick Henry High School in San Carlos.
Look up from your cell phones, your Snapchat, your texts. Look up from your history notes and your math homework. Look up from your college apps. Look up from the soccer field. Look up from the stage and look up and look at each other. For just a moment, make community your priority. Let us reach out and welcome those who are isolated so they don't feel compelled to take up arms against us. This fight is about more than taking away guns. It's about taking away the reason to pull the trigger.
KPBS education reporter Megan Burks was at the walkout and has this report.
We're here at Patrick Henry High School where students are heading back to class after spending 17 minutes coming together to talk about gun violence in schools. But students said this isn't just a fight for gun control, this is about stopping the reasons that kids pull the trigger. Later today they'll have a mental health booth during lunchtime on their quad. That's going to be here all week. They're also asking kids to register to vote. For the 17 minutes here there was a moment of silence. Students spoke. There was a poem as well as the choir singing a song that was composed specifically for this event. Earlier this week we spoke with one of the student organizers. Let's hear from her.
Yes, school shootings happened prior to, 1999 Columbine. They've been happening a lot more since then. And high school seniors now were born either in 1999 or 2000, so we've really been the generation to grow up with this kind of issue. That's why specifically in this set of issues, why we're so ready to be leaders and so ready to take action. My name is Maya Clarish. I am 17. I go to Patrick Henry High School, and I am one of the student leaders involved in organizing the walkout on March 14th.
I'm a senior at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School.
The thing that really inspired me the most was watching the students in Parkland who went to the town hall, who were speaking up, who were giving speeches, who were really making a stance about how this is something that we can change. And I think that our generation can change the political climate, and I think that we have the power and the voices to do so. I think that we kind of forget that sometimes, and I feel like I was probably kind of falling victim to that until I really saw those students stand up for what they believed in, and I was thinking to myself, just because I'm in San Diego doesn't mean I can't do the exact same thing.
All right, ladies, where are we at?
So we have been in contact with the Walkout Instagram page. They have been posting frequently for us. They know about wearing black. They posted about the poster room being open for students to make posters to bring to the walkout. And we've all, I think, been hearing kids talk about the chairs.
Definitely.
In the center of our quad, we have 17 chairs representing the 17 lives lost during the Parkland shooting. There's pictures of each person who was killed, as well as their name and their age, and a rose. So we have that going on from Monday through Friday. Tuesday through Thursday, we have a voter registration drive. 3 teachers have generously offered their classrooms to have all of their computers out so that students can register to vote. You can pre-register when you're 16, so we're really publicizing to get as many people as possible pre-registered as well as registered. Also, Tuesday through Thursday, we're having 2 booths in our quad, one being a mental health resource booth. We're taking pledges to end the stigma, which is a very large aspect of mental health, I believe, is that we're too scared to talk about it. And then we also have a booth to contact your elected officials, and we're making it broad enough so it's not just gun legislation, but whether that be mental health or just school safety in general, we're giving kids those resources to really take that next step. So we're making a timeline of posters representing a lot of the more mass school shootings since Columbine. In terms of like me being a leader and being one of the people in charge of the walkout, that takes on a lot of similar qualities to what my mom does. So when I originally told her, she said, "You sound just like me." And so she's been active in tons of things like this throughout her lifetimes. She also grew up in 1960 Alabama, and so her family, they owned a little convenience store. They're one of the only families who would serve African American people, people who were part of the LGBTQ community, and disabled people. And so for her, these qualities of really just caring about anyone and everyone have always been instilled in her, and she's definitely passed that on to me. She has worked with kids for a lot of her life. She was a youth director for over 20 years. And so I don't think she undermines kids and the younger generation. I think she really has a appreciation for what they can offer. And I think that differs from a lot of adults. I think they don't know what's coming for them. I think kids aren't afraid to say what they feel and be honest about it. And I think that on the one hand can be dangerous in some aspects, but I think on another hand can really create new conversations and really create a community that we want to see.
Like you heard, events will be taking place all week here at Patrick Henry, and students will participate in the March for Our Lives on March 24th. That's open to all San Diego residents. It's happening at the Waterfront Park in downtown. Reporting from San Carlos, Megan Burks, KPBS News.
Today's action also has similarities to student walkouts in 1968 that sparked a wave of Mexican-American youth activism across the country. Associated Press reporter Noreen Nasser has more.
50 years ago, thousands of Mexican-American students walked out of class in East Los Angeles demanding changes in their schools.
The kids were really being harassed by racist teachers, and dropout rates was incredible. Really vulgar racist teachers that were saying things in classrooms that were demeaning to the Mexican students, you know. And so it came to a breaking point.
The worst race riots.
The year was 1968, a tumultuous period in U.S. history. The fight for civil rights encouraged the students to mobilize, protesting drastic education inequalities from the use of corporal punishment to systemic discrimination.
A racist tracking system that where if you were black or brown, you were a guy, you got put into the industrial arts major, meaning wood shop, you know, and auto shop.
Carlos Munoz Jr. was a graduate student in LA who became an organizer of the East LA walkouts. He was one of 13 who was later arrested and charged with disrupting LA schools. It sort of politicized thousands and thousands of Mexican-American kids throughout the country. And then eventually, you know, became part of the Chicano movement that we called it, the civil rights movement of our own. Munoz sees parallels with students today who are calling for action in response to gun violence in schools. Since the mass shooting that left 17 people dead in Parkland, Florida, students have been demanding changes in gun legislation. More school walkouts are planned across the country on March 14th.
I remember maybe some high school kids confronting politicians, But my God, I was so impressed with these young people that were confronting people like Rubio on television in public places.
Senator Rubio, can you tell me right now that you will not accept a single donation from the NRA in the future?
His voice is strong, it's vibrant, and I'm very optimistic that out of this particular process that we see today, we're going to have a lot of young leadership that are going to go beyond what the 60s generation was able to do.
The East LA walkouts led to changes in the LA school system, including opening up academic courses that had been off limits to Mexican American students, reducing class sizes, and more bilingual staff.
Save our children!
Munoz still believes in the power of protest and walkouts, and he hopes students mobilizing today will continue to organize and achieve long-term changes in their fight for reform. Noreen Nasser, The Associated Press.
We'll continue to follow this story on air and online at kpbs.org. Broadcom is now abandoning efforts to take over Qualcomm. The company announced it's withdrawn and terminated its offer to acquire the San Diego-based tech giant. Here's KPBS reporter Jade Hindman with more.
If you were wondering what would come next in the proposed Qualcomm buyout by Broadcom, it looks like there is finally a conclusion. Broadcom is bowing out gracefully after Donald Trump ordered the deal be stopped. In a release, the Singapore-based company said although they are disappointed, they will comply with the order. It goes on to say they sincerely appreciate the significant support received from Qualcomm and Broadcom stockholders throughout the process. Dr. Nikhil Varaya is a professor of finance at San Diego State University. He says after a long bid, Broadcom likely realized they may be in a legal gray area and that it's time to raise the white flag.
They're still not sure what the law says, that even if they're domiciled back in this country, whether they can come back and, reinstitute their bid. And maybe they've decided that, there is so much of concern about, quote, say, foreign companies, so they've decided to step away from this.
This shift comes after a federal panel concluded Broadcom may be catering to foreign interest and recommended the president step in to axe the deal. It's an action that's getting bipartisan praise for keeping America competitive in the race for 5G technology.
This is a happy moment because many Democrats, certainly me, agree with the Trump administration when they blocked a proposed bid by the Singapore-based Broadcom to purchase the San Diego-based Qualcomm on national security grounds. Let me say unequivocally, President Trump and his administration made the right decision on blocking Broadcom from taking over Qualcomm. We all know that China has been rapacious about trade and very smart. They look for places where they can steal our best technology. They develop it there in China and keep us out of their markets, and then try to flood the world with their products, sometimes dumping them. China's been rapacious about trade. And frankly, neither the Bush administration nor the Obama administration did enough, in my opinion. President Trump has a much better attitude.
Dr. Varaya says now that Broadcom is out of the picture, the attention is on Qualcomm. He expects there could be leadership changes coming soon, or maybe even an offer from Intel. For now, Broadcom and Qualcomm, though, will go their separate ways, holding their stockholders meeting March 23rd. Jade Hindman, KPBS News.
Oceanside City Council is being urged to move forward with plans to allow medical marijuana. KPBS North County reporter Allison St. John has the story.
For the past year, a committee's been working on an ordinance to allow 4 dispensaries and let farmers grow cannabis on 10% of their land. Kyle Crail of Oceanside's Planning Commission says all 7 members voted unanimously to recommend doubling the number of dispensaries to 8.
Already a lot of common sense restrictions on where these dispensaries are going to be allowed. I think that common sense regulation negates the need to have an overly restrictive limit.
The Planning Commission also recommended doubling the amount of land that farmers could devote to cannabis cultivation from 10% to 20%. The Public Safety Commission, which includes the police and fire chief, opposes the idea. The newly appointed mayor of Oceanside, Peter Weiss, has not said whether he will support the ordinance. Again, this is all for medicinal marijuana. There has not been enough support in the City Council to approve recreational dispensaries. If Oceanside ordinance passes, it'll be the first city in North County to allow commercial cannabis operations. Alison St. John, KPBS News.
A break in the wet weather for now, with another round of rain on the way. Julia Wyden has more in tonight's forecast.
Well, we're going to continue to see those spotty showers in the area, so keep that umbrella handy. You're going to be needing it. Thankfully, temperatures will be close to what's average for this time of year, so we're not looking at any big cool down in the next couple of days at least. As we head into the weekend, we will see drier conditions. We'll have a front coming through on Saturday that will clear out the air and allow for a drier second half of the weekend. But until then, expect to see spot showers. Satellite and radar right now, we've had some wet weather moving through recently. Not a total rain out today. I think the bulk of the wet weather is a little bit farther off to the north. You can see that on our expanded imagery here, up from LA all the way up through San Francisco, and some snow in the higher elevations. Concerns persist for those in burn scar areas. I want to point that out because that is where we could potentially see some areas of flash flooding and possibly even some mudslides. So keeping you on the alert for that. For tonight, spotty showers and temperatures in the 50s as we take a look forward to the next 24 hours. Again, things will be in the upper 40s to low 50s for the start of Thursday into the afternoon. We're looking at some spotty showers possible in extreme Southern California, so be mindful of that. But again, bulk of the wet weather will be off to the north. Looking like temperatures will be in the low 60s in Oceanside for Thursday. Mix of sun and clouds, and again, a few spot showers passing on through. Your forecast at the coast calls for afternoon showers for Friday and a few showers around on Saturday as well. Temperature going to be in the low 60s, but drying out for Sunday. Inland, we have wet weather around as we wrap up the week. Mostly cloudy on Thursday, better chance for rain on Friday. And then on Saturday, conditions clear on out. In the mountains, again, snow expected higher up in elevation. Wet weather on Saturday, drying for Sunday. And in the desert areas, I think we'll be seeing pretty similar conditions. High temperature for Thursday in the low 70s, cooling off to upper 60s for Friday. Into Saturday, we'll see partly sunny skies and temperatures at a high of around 67 degrees. Back to you, Ebony.
Over the last few years, the country has been looking at the 50th anniversary of key events in the Vietnam War. A new exhibit in San Diego looks at one of the worst episodes of the conflict. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has the story. And a warning, some of the images in this story are disturbing.
We got to get them on there. Come on, guys. Ready, go. There you go. Got it?
Friday marks the 50th anniversary of the Themalai Massacre. U.S. troops were accused of killing roughly 500 unarmed villagers in and around the village of My Lai. Veterans for Peace is sponsoring a traveling exhibit that looks frankly at what may be the lowest point in America's involvement in Vietnam.
The project is really about exposing the true costs of war.
Chicago artist Mac McDevitt designed the interactive exhibit. They were setting up Wednesday at World Beat Center in Balboa Park. He isn't a veteran, though even as a young college student, the images distressed him.
When I saw the picture of the women and children at My Lai just before they'd been shot by U.S. soldiers, I felt like somebody just punched me in the gut. It always distressed me.
By this stage of the war, the surrounding valley had become a free fire zone. American troops were told to shoot at will. Though they encountered no resistance, photos later published showed a trail littered with dead bodies of women and children. Vietnam vet Dennis Stout was in the area earlier with his unit.
So we were told to kill every person, burn down every house, kill every animal, chop down every fruit tree, and put blocks of poison down the wells.
Stout reported what he saw, though initially no one investigated.
But I feel I have to keep doing this. I have to let people know that these people lived, that there was suffering on their side and our side. But, it's like that these people lived, and they were killed for an officer to get his promotion. It's like, I feel like I have to let people know what happened.
After photos of the massacre emerged, there were investigations and charges, but almost no one served time in prison. The exhibit will travel around San Diego for the next 4 days. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, students across the country walk out of their classrooms to protest gun violence. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
San Diego's North Park is officially cool. After years of planning, it was transformed into a San Diego hotspot, a place for date nights, dining, and the arts. Now, years after state redevelopment funding has dried up, North Park's commercial core is still thriving.
One of San Diego's oldest commercial districts has been revived.
It's great food, beer, art.
Today, near 30th and University Avenue, you'll find restaurants serving kale salads and cocktails in mason jars in place of nail salons and discount stores. Angela Landsberg says it's by careful design.
We don't want to be pigeonholed into just restaurants or just breweries or just boutiques.
Landsberg says since becoming the executive director of North Park's Business Improvement District in 2011, the BID has helped attract about 200 new businesses. It's a major contrast from when Patrick Edwards opened Antique Refinishers, Inc. in '69.
We lost our commercial businesses, the jewelers, the chocolatiers, the clothing, the shoes, they all went to Mission Valley.
By the late 80s, Edwards helped organize business owners.
I started because there was no place for me to have a lunch or get out in the neighborhood.
Like the antiques he restores, Edwards set out to improve upon North Park's good bones. The centrally located community is 5 minutes from downtown, adjacent to Balboa Park, and rich in history.
See the brown house down there?
Yeah.
That's actually one of David Dryden's original houses.
Marilyn Orban is one of the North Park homeowners to have recently restored her family's classic Craftsman home, a signature of North Park since the early 1900s.
This was 1978.
Is this the same house we're in
This
now?
is the same house we're in now.
She's moved back to her childhood neighborhood in time to enjoy the influx of craft breweries, yoga studios, and fair trade coffee shops.
We're a little bit old now to be trendy, but we're pretty happy that we got, sucked into the trend.
Home values in North Park have outpaced the county as a whole by 25%. Improvement projects really picked up when North Park Main Street was established in '96.
Today's main streets are resilient through hard work, planning, commitment, and action by local volunteers and leaders.
This gave North Park's revitalization effort a blueprint and a national network of support, poised to better tap into resources, such as California's redevelopment fund. By 2000, the North Park Theater got a multi-million-dollar upgrade. Indie bands now play where Orban and friends once watched Charleston Heston on the big screen. Around the same time, Ray at Night kicked off, a monthly art walk that upped North Park's hip factor, while construction on the North Park Garage gave these newly attracted hipsters someplace to park. Then came high-end condos, affordable housing on the El Cajon Boulevard corridor, the restoration of the historic Lafayette Hotel, and hundreds of thousands of dollars towards the transformation of the old JCPenney building into Wang's North Park, a Chinese fusion restaurant. But by 2012, the courts put a stop to the redevelopment funding. And by 2015, Wang's was closed. Landsberg says the key to North Park's economic sustainability is to not only attract new business, but keep them.
Sure, you might be able to get that cotton candy shop in there for $4.25 a square foot, but are they going to be able to make it? Are they going to be one of those 5-minute businesses that think they can come in because somebody has sold them this idea that they can make that kind of money, and then they fold up shop?
One empty storefront is getting yet another reimagining. This fall, Target is set to take over the former JCPenney building, which has served as the district's anchor since 1942, while other restoration projects have stalled, such as the former Woolworth building. A 2011 plan to turn it into a mixed-use retail and residential space has yet to materialize. Still, North Park's growth remains on the incline. Its BID boasts a modest 7% vacancy rate.
KPBS continues to follow the new economy. Stories about businesses, trends, and people who shape the dollars and cents of San Diego life. We want to hear your story ideas. Send them to us on Twitter, Facebook, or kpbs.org. Stargazers say he gave a human face to astronomy. Renowned physicist and author Stephen Hawking is being remembered today, one day after his death. He spent the last 50 years living with ALS. A severe attack of pneumonia left him breathing through a tube, and he talked through an electric voice synthesizer. His books about time, space, and black holes became international bestsellers. President Obama honored him with the Medal of Freedom. Hawking was 76. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, it's game over for Toys R Us, the final days of a toy store giant, which was a touchstone for generations of kids. And on Midday Edition, California has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation, and many gun owners are struggling to keep up with the latest regulations. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.